What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. It's the NBA Hardwood Show, joined by my two guys, Mangone, Bobby Gomes. Got a nice 7-game slate. Usually Fridays feels like it's a little more than 7 usually, but never will complain about 7 games. Got some big injury news that we have to wait for. Jokic is questionable. LeBron's questionable. Bam's questionable. A couple other people. So as always in NBA, got to wait on news. You got to adjust. But first, I'll kick it over to you, Bobby Gomes. Haven't been on a show with you in a long time. You've absolutely been crushing NBA. Everybody at RPS has been smashing. Members are winning nonstop. We'll get to, but yeah, what do you see on tonight's slate? Anything else you want to talk about on this beautiful Friday afternoon?
Yeah, nice to see a title. It's been a while. Yeah, in terms of NBA, just Jokic news, I think is pretty big. Bam news, Bam's been popping all day, so interested to hear what's going to happen there, and glad to be on the show with you and Mangone on this nice Friday.
Yep. So Josh and Chad, he said Bam and Bron are probable. I saw questionable. What I'm looking at is questionable right now. Mangone, did I miss it? Are they probable or are they questionable? And then anything else? How has your Friday been so far? Any overview on this slate? Talk to the people.
Yeah, I don't know about the news. That's something I always just wait till 5:30, right? Or 3:30 now for me, but whatever it is, an hour and a half before lock, whatever it is for you, or at that 30 mark, whatever, that's the time that I always am waiting, an hour and 30 before lock to kind of get all that news that files in. So I'm kind of just waiting on that to get that officially. I haven't seen too much, and that's what I kind of do. I just wait till that one comes in. It's a good day. Yesterday was awesome. The members absolutely crushed it. It was Glock's first free show, as I kept saying, even though he had one premium show under his belt. And yeah, his core plays went absolutely nuts. Our plays of the day went nuts, even though AP, he's in the chat, winners. He had a great heat map again, of course. But my boy Draymond, just showed him what's up. So it's always good. This is a little tip, and I did not know beforehand, but when I like Draymond Green, and when I know when JSU likes Draymond Green, not specifically, when JSU likes Draymond Green, that's when to really like it. And I was like, I think it's a good spot for Draymond, and I might even push the exposure even more when I see JSU on him, and you open up the core plays, and what do you see? JSU, DraftKings, FanDuel, Draymond Green. I was like, okay, this is a perfect spot. I'm in even more, and it was a good day for me as well.
Yeah, it was a good day over here too. I got a shipper. It was a $66 on DraftKings. People asked for a DraftKings core, so I decided to put one in. Got a little shipper, a little 1,500, but that is nothing compared to the hits we had yesterday with the members. Well, first off, Big Hoop is absolutely on fire in Showdown. He shipped first place. He shipped about $200,000 yesterday. And then our boy Cam, who's on the golf show sometimes, he's a member. He had 2 lineups, the same lineups that took first place too. What a massive win for Cam. I know he was in Discord earlier saying he was very hungover and was asking for advice, but hey, I was hungover today, but I'd be even more hungover if I won about $400,000 too. It wasn't only those 2 though. We had a lot of big wins. We had a $100,000 win in NBA on FanDuel yesterday. Erkan 53. His name's It's Yuli in Discord. $100,000. Congrats to you. Another big win. Punisher on FanDuel. He won $56,000 over there. He took down the monster. There's so many wins. We don't have the graphics right now. I'm looking at members never win. $3,200 from $9 from Jared 5354. The list goes on and on. They were all over Discord, but congrats to the winners. NBA's absolutely been on fire over here so far. If you're not a member, RPS Heater 25 gets you 25% off your first month. And there's no better time to join. Like I said, we got big MMA cards coming up. We got NASCAR, golf, MLB. We got World Series going on, golf. You name it. We got the sports. Come join the movement. RPS Heater 25 gets you 25% off. But it's time to dive in. 7 games. Hit the like and subscribe button for us, please, though. We do appreciate it. 260 watches, 72 likes. I hate harping on it too much. Just hit the like button. It goes a long way, and we do appreciate it. We'll get right into the games, though. The lone game at lock that starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. We got the Magic and the Raptors. The Raptors are 8-point favorites. A very, very low over-under at 206. Mangone, I'm going to throw it over to you first. We probably aren't going to get all the news we're looking for. Very low over under. pretty big favorite for the Raptors. So is this just a cross-off game for you, or do you see something in this game that you can pick out?
No, definitely not a cross-off game. But before I talk about this game, let me give a little bit more overview. Maybe I could have gave it before, but I think this is just really valuable when it comes to the slate, right? So this game, we'll just go with time-wise. 7:00 Eastern is when this locks, right? So 7:00. Then we got 7:30 game, which is Pacers Nets, which is a great game. And also at 7:30, we have the Bam Adebayo news, which we could get beforehand, but there's a chance we don't get that. And then later on, another big piece of news that we have is the Jokic news. What's going to happen with him? I think LeBron, he's questionable. I don't think that news is like super massive. I think it matters, but it is something you can backload for, and he's questionable. And obviously, if you backload too far for it and it doesn't fall your way, that could hurt you. But the Jokic news is absolutely massive. And I think that's one that, again, 10:00 is when that's going to come. You have a lot of different pivots later on, so you can kind of backload a bit, but you could miss out on some really good plays overall on this slate that we'll get to. In this game, I don't know if I want to load up too much on it, but I do think there are some really good plays. The Magic have been really poor defensively. These teams, it feels like they've been playing at slow paces, but I think when I looked at some of the numbers, the paces have been a bit faster. I'm surprised that it's at that 206 total. I feel like the over is not a bad bet. It's not one that I want to game stack, but I think I want to get some pieces of, especially on a site like FanDuel. I know on FanDuel, you can get a piece of some of these Magic guys for decent price tags. Like Jalen Suggs is at 4.6. Cole Anthony has gone up to 6.7, so that's a bit pricey, but I still think he is in play over there. On DraftKings, I think that OG Anunoby at 6.8K is going to be a really good play that we have to consider. I think Fred VanVleet is at a good price tag that you don't want to ignore. The minutes that these Raptors get, it might trump the pace that you're going to see that people think is going to be slow, but I think it's going to be a little bit faster than that. Of course, it's not going to be a pace where it's like a 230 total, but I do think it's going to play a little bit faster. And those minutes that you're seeing from these Raptors, that might be worth it enough to get pieces of the game. Again, I'm not saying that you game stack it, but if you're building out lineups, I don't think it's a bad idea to have a piece or two of the Raptors, right? If you have one Raptor, that's okay. I think it's perfectly fine to go that route, but that's tough to say without having this news, right? I need to know what's going to happen with Bam Adebayo. That's going to be really important. And then that Jokic news is going to be big, but you probably won't get that in the next 40 minutes. Maybe we do, and then we'll be able to make some decisions, but backloading is definitely going to be a little bit valuable to them.
Yeah, you made some very good points. I mean, this is the one game that locks you over under. You look at it, you think you can avoid it for sure. But I mean, both these teams, their starters, the main guys are playing very heavy minutes. Like you did say, OG Anunoby's absolutely been on fire. If you look at his game log recently, it's absolutely insane. And same can go be said for Cole Anthony, 6.5K. But man, this is a different Cole Anthony than we've seen in the past. He's in the mid 20s for usage. His rebounding, he's rebounded the ball very, very well this year. I don't know if double-digit rebounds is sustainable. I mean, it obviously isn't all year, but right now he's crashing the boards. He's getting rebounds. He's shooting the ball a lot. 6'5" sounds expensive. I doubt he's very owned, but he's shown ceiling so far. I think Fred VanVleet, definitely makes sense. Precious Achiuwa right there at 5'3". Jalen Suggs at 5'1", too. So I'm with you. You know who's getting the minutes in this game. So I do have some interest, but I don't want to go overboard with the other injury news that can pop up. And if Jokic is out, you're going to be all over Denver and stuff like that. So a couple pieces I like. I'm with you on there. Bobby, a couple pieces for you in this game. Are you full fading it, stacking it up? How are you approaching this game?
Yeah, I think there's definitely value here, but you guys make a really good point in terms of leaving the late swap equity. The Toronto Raptors are seeing minutes. Scotty Barnes, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, if I had to rank them, that's the three. That's how I would kind of rank them. And then on the other side, like Jalen Suggs, you mentioned Cole Anthony. Like Cole Anthony's been playing very, very well. Definitely passes the eye test. I don't know how much I'll get to Cole Anthony. He's up to 6,500, but he's someone like he's a little off the board in terms of tournaments, so I'd have some interest. And then in terms of Franz Wagner, like if Jalen Suggs is going to be a little bit chalky, Franz Wagner for like 200 or 300 cheaper, I think is an interesting pivot. Outside of that, that's pretty much what I have for this game.
Yeah, it definitely is an interesting game for sure. Like Mo Bamba, we didn't even mention. His price is up at 6.6. Gary Trent, he's playing mid-30s minutes. He's 5K. Terrence Ross, 4.4, always chucks. So like, man, there's definitely options in this game. And I think if you're making 150 in tournaments, I wouldn't mind stacking this game up a couple pieces on each side. Again, if you're making 150, I'd have some of my script where you do that because it's going to go under own with people waiting for news. You know where the minutes are going. You know where the price is going. If you get lucky and bink OT, obviously that's where the game stacks do get involved. So, yep, interesting game for sure. But we'll get on to the next game. The Indiana Pacers and the Brooklyn Nets. 2 games are locking at 7:30 Eastern. The Nets are 8.5-point favorites. 223 over under, like I said. I'll go right back to you, Bobby Gomes. Harden's been awful to start the year for sure. Don't think he'll be very owned though. So do you have interest in a Harden? Anybody on the Pacers side? We do have a little news there. Karis LeVert is questionable. So if he's out, Brogdon would still get more run. Duarte, more usage, stuff like that. So break down this game.
Yeah. So in terms of Harden, like eventually that's going to regress, right? Like I like there's going to be positive regression. I don't mind Harden here. If he's going to come in lower owned, I'll probably have some exposure. Bruce Brown's a guy that's popping. If he's not starting, I'm definitely considering the fade. Like he's someone as chalk. I just try to stay away from him. On the other side, with Brogdon out, I think TJ McConnell gets a significant bump. I like TJ McConnell in this spot. Interesting to see. Like I feel like Rick Carlisle will work him in pretty much. And then Sabonis, I really like Sabonis at a power forward position that I think is leverageable in tournaments on the slate. So definitely considering some Sabonis versus Nets front court.
Yeah, I really like that Sabonis call. His ceiling's absolutely massive. Bigs can beat up on the Nets. 9.4K. I definitely do like that price tag. I don't know. Harden's not going to be like sub 10% or anything like that, but I don't expect him to be as chalky as he's been on some slates in the past. Give me Sabonis for $200 cheaper over Harden personally. Otherwise, I would try to even get up to KD, who's $700 more personally. But yeah, Harden's a fine play, I think. Bruce Brown, like you mentioned, 3.8K. That's very good value if he does draw the start. Duarte 5.5, McConnell 5.5. So there is options. Mangone, you're going to be looking at some of the studs. You're going to look at some of the value plays, Bruce Browns of the world, faded all together. How are you approaching this game?
Yeah, I mean, this is a game you definitely can't ignore, right? I mean, it's going to be a good one on the slate. If you look at totals, 223.5. I mean, that is technically the highest total, even though there's a lot of them that are really close.
I got to interrupt. Brogdon. Yeah, Brogdon's not playing. I mentioned Brogdon. He is not playing, which gets the Duarte bump and stuff. So yeah, my mistake. Thank you, chat. He's not playing, which is why if Karis LeVert's out too, then all the usage in the world, Duarte, McConnell, Sabonis. So that's my bad. Thank you, chat.
LeVert's Q tag, but he has I think it's a back injury for LeVert. So if he plays, like, is his minutes going to get that up there?
I doubt they push him. Mango, you might have something else, but like, it's still, he's going to get some run and some usage. That would take away a little bit from Duarte and stuff like that. But the if he's out, these Pacers, I like more for sure. Mangone, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, so it seems like TJ McConnell is going to start, and we have, I mean, maybe, I hope it's not photoshopped, right? But I don't think it is. Sounds like we have a chatter in our Discord chat, and one reason to get the Discord chat is we know someone who knows TJ McConnell, right? So he's out here texting him, and, you know, he said, big minutes for you today? He goes, yeah, who knows, brother? And then they said, you're getting the start, right? And, you know, he gives his answer. So that's a reason to get in the Discord chat. Maybe he's getting the start, maybe he's not. You can find out. So go sign up at Rumcheer Sports. Use that code RPS Heater 25, get you 25% off. We already know. We don't know if he's going to start or not. So that's obviously important here to know. It is important to, you know, discuss Sabonis versus Harden, because I think that's like a tough decision point with paying up for stud today, because I think Harden is someone that I'm interested in, but I'm considering going Sabonis instead. Now, I know they're not the same position, but they are at a similar price tier, wherever you can find some 2v2s. I don't mind maybe pivoting to a Sabonis instead. I do think Kevin Durant is a good spend up too that people might not go to. And you know, your 3-entry max or single entry, he's a really good pivot, I think, off of a chalkier James Harden. And he's a spend up guy that might be a little bit lower owned, that can have a massive ceiling game and can kind of leverage off Harden. So I don't mind that. Bruce Brown is another cheapie that I think you want to look to get some exposure to. And I really do like the TJ McConnell call. I think those are my my 4 to 5 guys that I'm looking at the most are McConnell, Sabonis, Harden, Brown, and Kevin Durant in no particular order that I'd be looking to try and get into my lineups today.
Yeah, I definitely like the call for sure. Like we mentioned, the Karis LeVert news, I'm just going to be waiting on it. Regardless, if he plays, I still think some of these Pacers are strong, though. Definitely a good game. See somebody in YouTube chat due for a win. He said 359 last night. Thanks, boys. Turn $196 into $34,550. Crazy night. Wow, that's the stuff you love to see. Less than $200 in entry fees, 35 big ones. Congrats to you. What a score. What a lineup. 359 yesterday. Congrats to you. Awesome win. The guys absolutely crushed it on the show yesterday. AP's heat maps been on fire to start the year. Core plays, cash chart, playbook. You get it all over here at Run Pure Sports. RPS Heater 25 gets you 25% off if you are not a member. We'll get into the next game though. The Charlotte Hornets and the Miami Heat. The Heat are 5-point favorites, a 222.5 over under. Bobby, I'm going to go over to you. Any interest in a LaMelo Ball? Gordon Hayward's coming off a good game. Anybody on the Heat side, a Bam, Butler, who's absolutely been on fire to start the year? Talk about this game.
Yeah, I think Bam and Butler are definitely in play, just from what I'm looking at. And then on the other side, like LaMelo's going to be very low owned. It's been really tough to play LaMelo. I've been kind of chasing him, hoping he's going to get up in terms of minutes. This isn't the greatest spot. Like you're going to get Kyle Lowry defense, but he's going to be significantly lower owned. And if it stays close, maybe this is like one of the first times all year he gets up to like 33, 35 minutes. So I don't mind the low ownership on LaMelo. Very easy to get overweight on him. It's just that, like, I don't know if it's just been foul trouble, but he got into foul trouble the last game. He's obviously a good play and has the ability to go off, and he's relatively cheaper to a lot of these guys at the point guard position on the slate. So I don't hate running back Butler or Bam with LaMelo in tournament lineups.
Yeah, LaMelo's going to be very low owned. He's busted for a lot of people. Price is still up there. It's not someone I would get to if I'm making like probably 20 or less even. If you're making 150, you can sprinkle it in at very low ownership, I think. Bam is questionable in this game too. This game is 7:30 Eastern lock time, so we might get it before the first game locks. But if he's out, Dwayne Dedmon most likely slides in the starting role, 3.5K. That'd be some very good value right there. Jimmy Butler would get a usage bump. And if Bam does play, 7.8K is an appealing price tag for me. So that news definitely is interesting. Don't really have too much interest on the Hornets side though, altogether. Man, go and talk about the Bam news, what it does if he's in or out. Anyone on the Hornets for you, anybody else in this game?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a good game. Before I go to the game, though, we got a chatter asking a question. He says, how do I get on the Discord? He added his name on the profile. He's obviously a paying member, so he's trying to get in. You got to be a paying member to get in that Discord chat, but all you got to do is go to your Run Pure Sports profile and make sure your name is updated, and like it's case sensitive, right? So if you have a lowercase I in your name and you put a capital I, it's not going to work, right? If your name is Titletown with all lowercase, you got to make it all lowercase. It's just simple. So if you have any other issues, DM me, but that is definitely a quick fix for you there, David Cook. But let's talk about this game. This is obviously one that we kind of need news on to really make the decision. It's not a great spot for LaMelo Ball. If you wanted to mix him in throughout your 150 lineups, just because we know what his ceiling can be, sure. But if you're like, 3 entry max, 20 entry, I don't think you need to go to LaMelo Ball. I think it's unnecessary, especially with Rozier back. I think this is just a spot where you're really looking to target these Heat players. You're looking to see what happens to Bam Adebayo news. If he happens to be out, you can go to a Tyler Hero off the bench, but his price tag is a little bit higher. You obviously want to go to these centers first and foremost. Dwayne Dedmon, you could really take a deep shot on Omer. I can't say his name. Yurt7. He's a guy that you can go to as like a really deep 150 max guy. Don't think it's necessary. I know he's an elite fantasy producer at 3K, but Dedmon is the guy that you'd want to gravitate towards. He'll probably be the starter. And like I said, Jimmy Butler, he is going to be probably the high usage guy, the one that gets the most ownership of the top end guys. And that's kind of where I would go to with these Heat. And I think they're really good plays, but we just need to know this Bam Adebayo news here against the Hornets.
Yeah, that we should get the Bam news, I think, before a lock. Unlike the LeBron and Jokic news, those two games lock at 10 Eastern, whereas the next game locks at 8 Eastern, and there's a 2-hour gap in between the one standalone Kings-Pelicans game that we're about to get at 8 Eastern and then the 10 Eastern game. So doubt we get the Jokic news. LeBron actually locks at 10:30 Eastern. So it's going to be building lineups today. You have to go in with a plan. If you think, if you have a strong lean that you think Jokic either plays or LeBron sits or whatever like that, you can play some of these earlier guys and probably get them at reduced ownership. Otherwise, you can backload your lineups a little more, wait for the news, because if LeBron's out, if Jokic is out, there's very strong value that does open. So have to be mindful about that. Looking at the YouTube chat, got another one that I love to see. Nicholas Rushlow turned $75 into $11,550 last night. Made my lineups in 20 minutes in a tree stand. Nothing better than that. In the tree stand, 20 minutes, nice 5-figure win. So congrats to you. Those are the stuff you love to see. Looking at the likes, 432 watching, 129 likes. That's a little hurtful. You guys have been so good all year hitting the like button. Doesn't take long, a little click, and then the red button down there that says subscribe to. Like and subscribe. We do appreciate it for sure. Appreciate everyone in chat hanging out with us. David Koch, Skyfer, K. Philippe Burner, Danger, everybody in chat. Thanks for hanging out. Friday, 7 games. NBA's absolutely been crushing it. So let's continue and stay hot. We'll get into the next game, though. The Sacramento Kings and the Pelicans. Very close spread at -1.5. The Kings are favored. 221 over under. I'm going to go right to you, Bobby Gones. De'Aaron Fox, Devontae Graham's been playing well with a good price tag. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Brandon Ingram, Joe Val's been on a roll. I think there's a couple interesting pieces in a game that's supposed to stay really close. So break down this game as a whole.
Yeah, so I really like Fox, like running back with Joe Val. I think that's kind of a way, like one of the routes I'm looking to go in tournaments. Devontae Graham's popping as well. And Brandon Ingram is not going to be owned. And his usage rate, like within this offense, is really like he takes up a lot of the offense, and he's pretty much a Hun, but we like that in DFS. So I don't mind going to Brandon Ingram either. I really like this game. Fox at 8,400. He makes a lot of sense for me. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at so far.
Josh Hart's also questionable in this game, which isn't as big a news as some other stuff, but Josh Hart soaks up minutes. He's a good rebounder, so there'd be rebounds to go around there. Anytime somebody in the rotation is out, you get a little bump there. So yeah, none of these prices stand out too much, but like I'm fine if I landed on a 6K Devontae Graham or a 8.5 Joe Val with how he's playing. Tyrese Halliburton's always my boy at 6.1K. I think that's a fine price tag too. Probably around 10% owned. Mangone, any Tyrese Halliburton love for my boy Joe Val, who's actually been on fire? Anybody in this game that you like?
No love for your boy Tyrese Halliburton.
Ooh.
Out on him. My boy Ant Edwards puts him to shame. He's way better than him. I don't want to need no Tyrese on this slate.
Get out of here.
I like De'Aaron Fox, 8.4. I think De'Aaron Fox is a good play that you can go to in tournaments. He's going to be low owned. It's like a very, it's not like it's a deep dart tournament throw, but it's a way that you just, if you want to get completely different, right? Plug him in instantly, and he's going to be like 2% owned against the Pelicans, which you can definitely attack for sure. There's been some pretty good games from guards so far this year. You definitely can attack them at the rim. I'm not scared of Valanciunas there, so I think that's a perfectly good spot. Harrison Barnes has been unbelievable. He's averaging 8 threes a game, and like Luke Walton's talked about, he just wants to run it around him and have him just chuck up a ton of shots. So he can do it again here. I'm not saying he's a guy I would be locking in, but don't be surprised if he just has another big game, because he could. I think Rashawn Holmes is too cheap, and someone that is cash viable at that price tag of 5.8. They've obviously said, hey, Marvin Bagley, you're out. There's no need to be playing you, which I agree. It's better just to not play him than having, kind of like the situation they talk about in the NFL, right? If you have two quarterbacks, that's a huge issue. You just want to have one. You don't want to have all these different guys mixing in and have all this confusion. You get no synergy. Marvin Bagley is a guy that they just have bench and they need to just trade. It's really simple. So happy that they've kind of committed to that. On the Pelican side, even though Valanciunas is expensive, at 8.5, I still think he's in play right now. The current situation on this slate, without the news that we have, I think Valanciunas is a good play. Now, obviously, if you take the Bam Adebayo news and he ends up being out, well, that's going to put in a center like Dwayne Dedmon, where now you only have one other center spot possibly in your cash games, because he's probably going to be like one of those cash locks. And maybe you don't need Valanciunas in your lineups. I think it still makes him even a better tournament play because ownership could go down. But on FanDuel at 8.2, he's another guy that right now people are plug and playing. So at this current state of the slate, he's a very good play, but that could easily change. Devontae Graham at 6K is another guy that I still think he's too cheap. I think Devontae Graham could be like 6.5. He could be 6.8 over the next week or so. And I want to keep playing him. Now, he's not someone I'm prioritizing, but if I start to fall on him, or as I'm like, going through and building optimals, if he's on there, I'm going to like that. I'm not going to be like, oh, that team looks terrible because it has Devontae Graham on it. I still think he's a really good play. On FanDuel, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is 6K, where compared to 6-7 on DraftKings, that's a huge difference. And also, Nickeil Alexander-Walker has a ton of different position eligibility, right? That shooting guard spot, the small forward spot, where I think he's a really good play over there, and I'm going to consider. And then in tournaments, Brandon Ingram is another really good option because of the usage that he's seeing. He can have a massive ceiling game. He has the opportunity to have triple doubles on so many different times on these slates, right? I mean, he gets the Kings, which is a really good matchup. If you look at his production, 26 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds. He had 25 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds. He has the opportunity to get triple doubles, especially on a site like DraftKings, where the ceiling is 60. And at that price, you can't ignore it. He could outscore Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant is 10.3K. Well, Brandon Ingram is 8.7. So I'm not ignoring all these guys. I think all three of them are really, really good options. And you got to consider them here in a matchup against the Kings that we know we like to target.
Very, very good breakdown. I definitely agree on everything you said. Our boy Clinton chat said, Gomes looks uber smart today. I like your look, Bobby.
Thank you, Clint. I appreciate it.
I like the look with the glasses. Looking sharp.
So are you guys considering Rashawn Holmes at all in cash? That would be a question I wanted to ask you guys.
I think he's fine. The price tag at 5.8K. The problem is he's just center eligible, kind of like Mangone was talking about. So I wish he had the dual position eligibility. Yeah, I do think he's in play. 5.8K.
At the current state of the slate title, he's in play. It really hinges on Dwayne Dedmon, right? Because
yeah.
If you get Dwayne Dedmon news, and then if you keep getting more news, and do you want to lock yourself also into Rashawn Holmes possibly with that Jokic news later? It just depends on the overall construction of your lineup. And I think that's super key to this slate. And it also depends how much you want to embrace being on later players. What if the Jokic news doesn't go your way? Now you have to understand that you can't say, let me roll the dice and then figure it out later. You need to be able to be like, if I roll this dice, what am I doing? And if I roll it and it doesn't go my way, what am I doing there? I think that's super key to look at. And I want to make sure that while I'm building lineups over like the next, hour and a half leading up to lock, I want to make sure that I'm focusing on that. And let's say we get to the 7:30 game and we get more information. Maybe it's okay to not backload your lineups as much and take other players. That's just how some slates go. Some slates are just an all-night event. They're not just everything locks at 7. You feel good, you move on. Last night, it kind of felt like it was that for me. I didn't have to really look and make many changes. Tonight's just not that night, right? You just kind of got to be at your computer grinding, and that's going to give you a really nice edge on these slates.
I think that point in general was super important in terms of like waiting on the Dedmon news and then Jokic. Like that's the basis of the slate, it seems like. Yeah,
somebody in chat too, they're saying Rashad Holmes, power forward on FanDuel. He's 7.5 on FanDuel, so he's definitely not someone I'm looking at over there. But DraftKings, that is a nice price tag. Big man go and hit it right on the head though, because Dedmon would be elite value for sure. The Jokic stuff later in the night, like this is like I said, the only standalone game at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then you have a 2-hour break. Then you got 10 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 Eastern to fill out your last 3 spots. And 2 biggest news, Jokic and LeBron are at the night game. So going to be very interesting. Again, go in with a plan tonight, how you want to build your rosters.
Title, let me cut you off because Philip has a really good question. He says, when looking at the projections on sites, what's the most important thing we should be looking for? And I think sometimes people get in trouble where, like, I was talking with someone last night and they said, I just didn't want to have like 4 guys from the same team, right? Of like the Wizards. And I was like, well, why? Like, why did you not want to? Just the projection tells you what, like, it's okay to do that, right? It's spitting out 3 to 4 Wizards, so it's fine. So what I'll look at is, like, right now, currently at this time, Michael Porter Jr. is on a bunch of optimals. So is Aaron Gordon. Now, is it hedging a little bit for the news? Yes, it's hedging a little bit, but it'll even go further the other way. Now, I'll look at, like right now I'm looking at 2 teams and I see OG Anunoby's a guy I really like in tournaments that I think is a really good play. But in cash games, do I want to lock myself into a guy like OG who could take up a forward spot when I have like Michael Porter Jr. there? No. Now in tournaments, I don't mind it because I think it's a really good high upside spot for him. And I also think it's a way where if the news doesn't fall the correct way, those forward values could get destroyed, right? Let's say Jokic plays. Well, now Porter could be a terrible play. Now, well, not a terrible play, but he could get hurt a ton. Now Aaron Gordon could get hurt, and that's where I can leverage some people. And in cash games, I don't want to lock myself into guys that match comparable to some of these other plays that could give me another big leg up on the field. And those are the things that I'm looking at when I'm kind of building out these teams on these weird slates.
Oh, you made very, very good points. And I agree. If you think two lineups you're debating upon are a coin flip and really close, I would definitely just go with whatever one. If one has one or two people locking the early games, the other ones are more backloaded, and you think it's a coin flip, I would definitely go with the backloaded one because it gives yourself more roster flexibility with the news later.
And one more thing to add, Title, you don't know if just random news will happen, right? Like there's a lot of later games. What if Paul George randomly sat? Now, I'm not saying that that's something you should bank on, but that is something that could happen. It's the NBA. You just never know.
Oh, yeah. The Kawhi headache games or Paul George headache games or whatever. I mean, we've seen this stuff in the past before with NBA for sure. Not as much as it happened earlier in the season. Obviously, it can. Later in the year, you're going to see random stuff pop up. But that's the edge. You got to be by your computer. You got to have notifications on for lineups, and Discord, we're always posting them too. Before you get to the next game, someone in a premium chat in Discord asked about Buddy Hield. I'll give that to you, Bobby. It's obvious it was not a cash play. It definitely would just be a tournament play. But what are your thoughts on Buddy Hield?
Yeah, I guess he's in play for tournaments. I don't know how much I'd get there. I definitely prefer Fox or Halliburton for that matter. Just don't really get to Buddy Hield a ton usually.
Yeah. I'm similar to I like some of the other. I like Fox more. I like Halliburton more. I personally wouldn't get there. I like Holmes more at 5'8", so I wouldn't get there either. But he's gonna be 2% owned, 1% owned. So if you have a hunch and you like him, I'm not gonna say no at 1%. We'll go on to the next game though. Dallas Mavericks and the Denver Nuggets. 216 over under. The Nuggets are favored by 2. Obviously, we've been talking about it with the Jokic news. Porzingis is still out on Dallas, so that opens a lot of value. I mean, we saw Maxi Kleber absolutely go bananas yesterday with 7 stocks. I'm not expecting another 7-stock game at all, but he still is only 3.3K. Dwight Powell's 3.6K. There's good value there. I think Jalen Brunson's interesting at 4.8. And yeah, I mean, the Jokic news is obviously huge. I think Monte Morris gets a big bump. Aaron Gordon gets a big bump. Michael Porter gets a big bump. Barton gets a bump. Like this game would become very, very elite on both sides with value. I'll go back to you, Bobby Gomes. Talk about the Jokic news and what that's going to do for you. Talk about some of this value on the Dallas side and anything else. Talk about Luka too, because that's a big talking point.
Yeah, so Jokic really didn't sit pretty much all last year. If he does sit, like Michael Porter Jr. kind of goes to the top of the list for me for Denver. Will Barton, Monty Morris, Aaron Gordon, they all get bumps. On the Dallas side, like Maxi Kleber's hitting optimals, but like Maxi Kleber would be a guy like I'd want to get away from. Like he just seems like bad chalk. Even though he's definitely a really good play, but 7 stocks off the bench yesterday, like it's not something I want to gravitate towards too much. And then just the Mavs in general, like I'm seeing a lot of Mavs, they're flying into Denver. Like there's always a negative connotation to that trip, like flying in an altitude on the back-to-back. Not the greatest spot for the away team, but it definitely is going to depreciate the ownership of Luka after having a terrible night last night. I'll have a lot of Luka in tournaments tonight, so I think he's someone I'm targeting. I'd love to play Luka and Jokic. Like that's what I want to play, but if not, like I can probably run it back in different ways. Once we get the Jokic news.
So are you planning, you're mainly a 150 guy, I know that. Are you planning in a lot of your lineups to backload, waiting for this Jokic news and LeBron news and just a couple pieces in the early games, or how do you approach it? Because it sounds like it might be your favorite game on the slate.
Yeah, this is my favorite game on the slate, so I'm definitely waiting for that because if Jokic sits, like that usage that's going to be immense usage that opens up for basically the Nuggets and hitting that guy when a lot of people are maybe played the games earlier, like just makes a ton of sense for leverage. Yeah. In terms of LeBron news, like I know we're going to get there. I think LeBron plays, but so it's more just the Jokic news for me. Yeah, I really like this game for tournaments.
Yep. Definitely good points. You think he plays? Yeah. If you have a hunch, if LeBron plays or Jokic plays or vice versa, you definitely can build your lineups that way and what you're expecting. We got somebody in chat, Ali Charbar. First time on here. How do I get in? I want in. We have a promo code RPS Heater 25. If you go to Run Pure Sports, plug in the promo code RPS Heater 25. You get 25% off your first month. And then you get in Discord, Mangone talked about a little earlier, how you get in Discord, go on the website, follow the steps, you message Mangone, you message Captain, and then you get in the Discord. In addition, if you remember, get a playbook that we do every single day that breaks down the whole slate, every game by game breakdown, your favorite studs, your favorite value plays. We have a core play section where our GPP guys give out cores, 6 core plays. And then you fill in the rest from there. We have AP who does a heat map. He does a very good job with that. We have a cash chart, Mangone, Hoop myself do, takes 3 core plays, gives our player pool that we're going to be using in cash games. So a bunch of content. RPS Heater 25 is how you get in at 25%. Looking at the likes, 487 watching, 189 likes. We can get up to 250. I'm not going to hold the plays hostage or any of that, but under 200 right now is a little hurtful. We've been on fire. Mangone, Bobby Gomes, we're giving you the winners. So if you hit the like button and subscribe button, we appreciate it. And it is very easy. We'll get into the next game. Wait, did I go to you about this game, Mangone? I don't know if I did actually.
No, you have not. But we'll talk about
Jokic, because that's a big one. If he's in or if he's out, what are you doing with Luka, and then some of this value on Dallas?
Yeah, I don't think I'm considering Jokic even if he plays. And I think the reason why is, one, the price tag is really hefty. 2, you have to deal with Mike Malone, and Mike Malone is a pain, right? Do you think Mike Malone might be a little annoying with his minutes? Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a chance. So I just don't think I want to mess with it. Maybe if you get him at 1% and you really think it's fine, but I just think it's not worth it on this slate to mess with too much. On the opposite side, Luka, I mean, I'd rather go to him than Jokic, I think, at a lower owned play, because people are just not going to go to him after what he did to him yesterday and all these other stars in the slate. It's really expensive price tag. And I also know Luka is the guy there, right? I also know that Luka is not hurt. So I think that's what I would be going to if I had to pick one star. I don't think I'd want to go to both. But this news is going to be really important. Obviously, if Jokic is out, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., I think they get the biggest bumps. I don't trust Mike Malone enough to go to Bones Highland. Bones has been talked up a little bit, and that second unit offense has been really bad. I don't think you want to go there unless he's ruled the starter at 3K. So that's something that I would be looking at. And then Tim Hardaway Jr. on FanDuel is at a cheap price tag, so I wouldn't ignore him. But I need to find out from Bobby Gomes. I mean, we got Boban, we got Dwight Powell, we got Maxi Kleber. What does the hand model, Bobby, say on Boban? I mean, he's got massive hands.
He's got massive hands, Boban. Massive hands, Boban. No, yeah, Boban versus Jokic has been if Jokic plays, I think you can make a case to play him. Obviously, didn't play last night. He's had pretty big games versus Jokic. They've used him versus Jokic in the past, but that was also a Rick Carlisle coach team. So interesting to see what Jason Kidd would do.
And they're short-handed, Bobby, right? At center. It's not like they're going to have to play him. It's not like they're just going to not play him unless they want Maxey to go off again, which he went crazy. But it is a back-to-back. I wouldn't be shocked if they played Boban.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked either. That might have been the reason that they arrested him, kind of anticipating this. I wanted to get your point, Jalen Brunson previously, I hate playing Jalen Brunson shot. He's a good call. But I think he's it's a different situation now, right? I feel like Kidd likes him. I know Trey Burke's back tonight, but I still think Jalen Brunson's a good play. What are your thoughts there? I know you guys play cash, and I'm seeing him hit a lot of projections.
The one thing I'll say about Brunson, I think he's a really good play and a good way to get a piece of that game. But I don't know if I play Brunson with Luka. I know they share the court enough, but it does feel like they're both too ball dominant to play together. So I would likely want to keep them away from each other, but I like Brunson. I think he's definitely worth taking a shot on here against the Nuggets. So I think he's a good value that you can definitely get exposure to.
Yeah, I agree. I like the price at 4.8, low 20s usage. I'm a Jalen Brunson guy too, just the opposite as Big T, who was absolutely dogging Jalen Brunson a couple nights ago. But yeah, I think the price tag is good with KP out, the usage is there and stuff. So I mean, there's so much value in this game, and that's why I think backloading your lineups and waiting, because even without the news, there's a lot of strong plays in this game, regardless if Jokic is in or out, especially on this Dallas side. So I think this game's really good. Again, Powell, Kleber, Brunson, Reggie Bullock slid into the starting lineup too. I don't love him as much, but he's only 3.5K. So you can go complete stars and scrubs and use this Dallas value if you want to go that route. A KD, Jimmy Butler, just different ways like that if you want. So I think this game is very interesting. Obviously, the news is the biggest part of it, but we'll get on to the next game. The Clippers and the Portland Trailblazers, 222.5 over under. Portland is 3-point favorites. I'll go back to you, Bobby Gomes. We got some stars in this game, obviously. Paul George, Dame, McCollum. Dame has not been right to start the year. It's been McCollum's team for sure. Any stars in this game? Are you going to look at any value in this game, or are you just going to fade it altogether?
Yeah, McCollum's seeing, like, I have McCollum projecting for the most minutes on the slate, 7,900. It has been McCollum's team. I'm kind of not really interested in either Dame or McCollum. For whatever reason, I just don't really play too much of those guys. But in terms of I have Reggie Jackson popping a little, Luke Kennard, Nicholas Batum seems like an interesting value play. But on the Portland side, like, not getting too much outside of that. Yeah, that's pretty much like what I'm looking at for this game, or guys that I'm considering.
Yeah, I think that if people are going to go in this game, I think you hit it on the head. I think they will go mainly for the value on the Clippers side, Batum or Kennard. Batum had a nice night 2 nights ago. Affordable price tags right there. I like Reggie Jackson's price at 6.1K too. He has the usage. He's a good ball player, handles the ball a lot. The minutes are there. So I do agree with that. Terrence Mann maybe at 4.6K. Think he'll be very low owned. He has upside too. I'm with you though. I don't really have too much interest on this Portland side. Their prices are all right. They're healthy. So I'm not interested in anyone really. Mangone, any interest for you in Portland, or any of those value guys, or anybody else on the Clippers?
Yeah, so we saw this matchup already once, and we saw them go a little bit bigger. We know that the Blazers, they're playing Robert Covington at the 4. They're also playing more Larry Nance there. So that's obviously going to give them, Zubac is going to be needed, right? At 5K, I think he's a decent value. I also think 4K Nick Batum definitely makes some sense. That's a little bit of a revenge spot for the people. If they love some revenge, we've probably missed a couple, but that's our first call out on a nice revenge game there. And then I think a really deep dart play, again, 150 max, or the late slate. If you're playing that late slate, I think this is a good way to go, is Hartenstein. I think he can get some decent run. So that's worth looking at. But I think Reggie Jackson on FanDuel, pretty solid play. Paul George, good contrarian spend up option that you can go to. I mean, if you look at Paul George's game logs, he had some pretty big games. I know against Portland, it wasn't a huge one, but he only played 26 minutes and he had 8 steals. So we know what Paul George's upside could be. He's certainly one of those studs that if, you're trying to play Luka later and it just doesn't work for your lineup, you can pivot over to Paul George for $1,000 less. And this is why I like backloading, because we have options later. On the other side, if Norman Powell does not play, that's really good for a guy like Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, who they're going to see a little bit more usage. Now, I think there's still good plays if Powell is in, but they're way better plays if he's out. And Damian Lillard is a better FanDuel play. CJ McCollum at 8K, his price tag has gone up. I think there's better plays on this slate. Again, he's just a guy that you can pivot to if you need to in tournaments, if you're kind of behind. He's a guy that has the ceiling that you can go to. And then Nurkic at 7K, he's okay. But again, I like other center options. I think you're going to already be looking to go to some earlier centers that we talked about. So I just don't think he really makes the cut on this slate. Overall, this isn't a game that you're loading up on title. But the thing I don't mind about this game is there are options to pivot to if you're behind. There's options to pivot to if the news doesn't fall your way, where the plays are a little overpriced, but there's still good options and still have ceilings that you can get there in tournaments.
Yeah, I definitely like the call. And you mentioned Hartenstein, and Brittany in chat asked about Hartenstein too. I'll go over to you, Bobby Gomes. It's definitely more of a tournament play, I think. He's always a good fantasy point per minute producer when he's in. The minutes aren't there, though. Around 15 I have him projected for. Talk about Hartenstein though. Someone in chat asked, and I think it's interesting at a cheap price tag at center.
Yeah, this game went big the last time, so I don't see why. I think he could definitely be in play and someone you can consider. I don't know how much I'd get to him, but I don't hate the play for tournaments. I really don't.
All right, yeah, that makes sense. We'll get into the last game of the night. Looking at the likes, 484 watching, 230 likes. You guys definitely did good. Since I asked last, we got a nice inflow of likes, but 20 more would be awesome at 250. Hit the like and subscribe button. We appreciate it. RPS Heater 25 gets you 25% off. to join the movement. NFL this weekend, got a nice slate over there. All of our content will be up. Big weekend in sports, so make sure you come over and make sure you get in Discord too. That is my favorite part about the product personally. We'll get into the last game. Locks at 10:30 Eastern. LeBron James is questionable. Bobby Gomes thinks he's going to play. Lakers are favored by 7.5, a 221.5 over under. I'll go over to you, Mangone. Do you have a lean that LeBron plays or if he sits? If he does either one, talk about what that'll do for your lineups, and then any interest on the Cavaliers side.
Yeah, I believe he plays, but I'm not sure. And of course, if he plays, the team looks a little bit different. If he does not play, man, this could definitely be a really good game, especially because the Lakers are playing at a really fast pace. I mean, when you have Russell Westbrook leading the charge, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to play really fast, even despite having those double big men. And the Cavaliers, they're happy to play double big man lineups, and they're going to roll with it. Like, I think Evan Mobley is a really good option that has a huge ceiling at 6.6K. Someone in tournaments that you could easily go to on FanDuel, on DraftKings. The price I know is up a little more. Let's see what they have it at 6.8, but I still think he's perfectly fine. And then Jared Allen could be someone too. Like, I think you want to target Jared Allen when you're against teams that need to play really big. That's when you're going to see a ceiling out of him in tournaments. So he's another guy at center that you could go to that. I think he's better play than Nurkic because of the ceiling that he's going to have. I don't really like going to Garland, Sexton, or Markkanen. Don't think they're too necessary. And then if LeBron sits, like, Westbrook would be a really decent play. So would Anthony Davis. But again, these are not guys I'm prioritizing. It's more so if I'm backloading my GPP team and I notice I'm behind and I really need a high upside spot and then LeBron sits, then I would go there. But other than that, like, cash games, I'm not touching this one. I don't think I have any of these guys in the cash chart right now. If LeBron sat, would I add some of these guys in the cash chart? Yeah, Russell Westbrook would be added if you have the roster spot and the money to spend up. Anthony Davis would be in play too, but I don't think I need to be going there on this slate. This is more of a tournament play, and this is probably a better game to attack on that late night 3-game slate, which, of course, I'm sure we'll have some core plays in there. We'll have a showdown playbook. We'll have everything you need over here at Run Pure Sports. Use that code RPSHeater25, get you 25% off.
Yeah, I think you made very good points. This is going to be pretty much a cross-off game for me if LeBron does play. I think the Lakers have their way against the Cavs. If I played anybody, I think it would be Anthony Davis at 9.5K. Nobody's going to be able to stop Anthony Davis on this Cavs team. Mobley's solid, but he's too little at the end of the day. I mean, too skinny. AD, I think, will have his way down low. So he'd be the one, but mainly I think you make it a 7-game slate. You make it a 6-game slate if LeBron does play, that is. Bobby Gomes, do you see it the same way, or do you have some interest in either side of this game?
I see it the same way. I like the Jared Allen call by Mangone. And another guy I just want to mention is Ricky Rubio at 5,600. Like, he's shown a ceiling. I think even if he's off the bench for this Cavs team, I think it's a pretty good spot for him. Like, if you need a late pivot, I don't think he's the worst play.
Yep, sounds good. Couple of our boys in chat, Glaucoma, our boy Kegs in chat. He says, we're here, hit that like button. And he's telling you to settle down a little, man, getting a little feisty or something. I don't know. Keg says, settle down a bit. You got anything else to say to him?
Keg just likes to say that. That's one of his phrases. He has a bunch of them. So, hey, Keg just in here. Be sure to check him out. He's on the bet side over on our YouTube channel, Run Pure Bets. Head on over there, check out the YouTube, and he'll be doing live bets for free all weekend long, and sometimes premium too. So check all of that out.
Yep, definitely make sure to check the bet side. They've been crushing it. I imagine Keg's got some MMA plays up for tomorrow. He does NASCAR, is always live, NFL Sundays too. So make sure you check out Run Pure Bets as well. But hey, we got through all 7 games. Before we get into the plays of the day, I'm going to go to both of you and ask a question because I think it's important. If you played just one tournament lineup today, how would you approach it with the news? Would you backload more? Would you plug some pieces in the earlier game that you think are lower owned and leave some spots? Are you going to wait for the Jokic LeBron news like that? So Bobby Gomes, how many guys would you say, it doesn't have to be a hard number, but are you leaving a certain amount of spots open for the 3 late games or the 8 p.m. Eastern games and below? Are you fine if you fill out over half your roster spots with some of them?
Yeah, I'm backloading right now. So I have like three spots in my rosters like open for the late news. So just waiting on that. I don't know how much. I think some of the early game value is like pretty good. So if you want to take shots on it in tournament, like by all means, Just the way I'm approaching the slate, I think I'm going to backload for the Jokic news.
Yep, makes sense for sure, Mangone. What's your answer to that question? There's no right or wrong answer, but it is a question that you have to ask yourself and have a plan with before you make your lineups today for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy question. I think it depends on your player pool, partially like what guys you're looking at, what you're looking to do. There is value in being like, okay, let's say you like Fred VanVleet or OG Anunoby, who are both good plays in the slate. There's value in plugging those two in, right? Or not two, but one of those two. Maybe you plug in a TJ McConnell, you run it back with a Kevin Durant or even a James Harden, and just watch how it goes. And if they're doing bad, right, like really bad, well, you might need to get to some lower on stuff, right? So then go over to a Paul George, go over to a Damian Lillard with maybe one of your last spend ups or some of these other guys. I think there's also value instead of just saying, hey, no 7 o'clock games at all. I think that there is some value in just ultimately playing some early guys and then figuring out later on, do I play some higher owned chalk or do I play some lower owned plays to try and get me over the finish line? It's obviously a tough tightrope to walk. And I'm not saying you need to, but it's definitely something you can do on this slate. Currently, if I do play, like I'm playing one single entry team for cash, and then I'm playing one main GVP team, I am considering playing one guy in the Raptors game and playing a couple guys in the Pacers and Nets game. But that also matters with what the news is going to be with this Heat game. I think that's going to change some stuff up too. So it just depends how things fall. And I think it's worth looking at a team, like look at a team that has some earlier guys and look at a team that doesn't have some earlier guys. Look at the projection and look at what you kind of like and then make a decision based on that.
Yep, definitely think you made good points. And yeah, like we mentioned, even if Jokic is in, LeBron is in, like there is good value, especially on the Dallas side. I like some of the value on the Clippers side too. So there are good pieces, even if both of them are in. You wouldn't absolutely be hosed or anything if you are backloading that game. So, or backloading the slate. Very good points, though. We are going to get into the plays of the day. Go over to you first, Bobby Gomes. The hand model play of the day is, I believe, your name. Who do you got for us today?
Yeah, I got Luka Doncic. Big hands Luka. I think the flop lag is good. Everyone played him last night. He busted. Kid running those 15-man rotations. They're going into Denver tonight. I think he's the play under 10% ownership. He's the guy I'm spending up for.
The good old flop leg. Luka Doncic, you definitely cannot go wrong with him. I think that's a good call. I'll go over to myself with the SO play of the day. I'm going to go Reggie Jackson at 6.1K. I like that price in the mid-tier. You're also backloading. You'll have the news with the Jokic and the LeBron news most likely. So if you have Reggie Jackson and you want to go more stars and scrubs route, depending on the Jokic news or something like that, you can always swap off. But I like him in the late game. His usage is there. His minutes are in the mid-30s. I like the price tag at 6.1K. So give me Reggie Jackson as the SO play of the day. Man, going to cap it all off, who do you got for us as your play of the day?
Yeah, man, I've gone back and forth on this one because I do like one guy in the early game, but I don't know if I want to lock myself into him is the problem. One guy I like a little bit later, and it's at the 8 o'clock game. I think he's a really good option. His shot volume has been really good. If you look, every single game except one, he's got 14 or more shots, and it's Devontae Graham. I think he's at 6K. He's in that same guard range as you. I like his floor and upside in this spot. And I think it's a really nice way to get a piece of this game. And I like attacking the Kings. I think the Kings are a team defensively. Sure, they got the Aaron Fox who can play pretty well, but Graham is going to be he's not going to be a 5% owned play on this slate, right? He'll probably be in that like 10 to 15, maybe gets up to 20, but I like him a ton. I think he's a really good option. He's a nice floor and ceiling combination at that 6K price tag that I like.
I like you for sure. That'll do it for us. Nice 7-game slate. We talked about it, broke it down in depth. If you're playing NBA, like always, especially today, though, with the injury news, be by your computer, be by your phone, have a plan on how you're going to approach the news. If people are in, if people are out, we'll be in Discord all night too, like usual. Again, RPS Heater 25 gets you 25% off your subscription. We have the playbook up, core plays, cash chart, heat map, every single sport that has contests too, we have over here at Run Pure Sports. So RPS Heater 25% off. Join the movement. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us on this Friday afternoon. Hope you guys all have a great weekend. Win some money this week. See RPS up at the top. We appreciate you guys. For Mangone, Bobby Gomes, myself, Titletown. Good luck, everybody.